Hi guys, welcome back to another model railway extravaganza. We're going to look at doing a bit of the groundwork over here. Now, as you recall in my last little video, the signal box gave us a little issue, so we're going to deal with that. And we're going to get the track down. I'll bring you down here and we'll have a closer look at what we're going to do. So what are we looking at, other than my cup of tea, is the little bit we're going to play with here. So we have my shed, which we all know about. I've made a bit of a base, and this is literally just two bits of hardboard glued together because I want the depth, and a couple of slots cut in each end to allow the track to go inside the shed building, because remembering this is going to be a disused siding and the shed doors will be shut, so I don't need a bit of track in the middle here. No point. Regarding the signal box, obviously that's created a bit of compression here for room for the track to go through, so I'll move that out of the way. So there's my penciled line, so I'm going to have to cut back the embankment here just to give a little bit of room. Let's get the knife out and work out where we're going to trim this back. So as you remember, this is a bit of foam and a bit of plastic cloth on top, and I've got a line marked, drawn where the signal box will sit. That way I'll know how far I need to go back. Now it's not a long way, it's about, you know, a centimetre or so. So I'm just going to stick the knife in there and we'll just carve back about a centimetre. Perhaps I need a sharper knife really, but there we go, we're back on a roll. Track out the way for that last little bit. There's a basic cut. And let's scrape it up from the bottom. Scalpel cuts better than the main knife. So. Seems a shame because it was looking nice, but well, it's an easy thing to do, isn't it? None of this is difficult. I shall clean that up. Righty-ho, we'll get the signal box back in position. Sit him there. We'll get the shed board back in its place, which it is. We'll tuck the track in. And how much room does that give me? Well, what do you reckon? I'm going to just cut a little bit more. Try and do it left-handed. There we go. That will definitely be spot on. And those of you who are observant amongst us might have noticed that just here we've got a southern rail built signal. Now these are the N gauge version, and they actually are perfect size for TT, and I've scaled them off of some photos as well. And while they're not the tallest signals that Dapol do, they are perfect for this. So there's a few holes appeared in the baseboard, like these ones, and the fact that there's 2 holes here is testament to the fact that you should measure twice, cut once, double check the underside of the board, because point motors and everything gets in the way, because these signals have an enormous great big control box that bolts on underneath, and even on this tiny little layout everything is in the wrong spot. But there we go. But yeah, these signals are brilliant. They'll do perfectly for what I need, which is a home signal here. 2 platform starter signals. One will be on the platform because I need the height to clear the coaches that are in this line, and the other one out here somewhere. I'll drill down here and there, but I want them further back, really, further away from the points that are down here. So the next thing is we've got to make good this bit of embankment here. Now the Southern Railway loved concrete, so what I'm thinking is we'll just make a basic concrete wall to go across here. I'd use brick, but there's not a lot of embossed TT 120 walling available at the minute, so a nice plain concrete wall. Right, so here's my plastic card sheet. I don't know, say about 1mm thick. That'll do nicely. I need it to be this long. And what do we reckon? About 17mm or so tall at the highest point. So roughly there. The width of the wall appears to be about right, so we'll just go along there. Mark up there. Now it's got a slope to it at each end, so I want the highest point is here. So between those 2 points there, easy peasy, 2 points there, which are about a quarter and, yeah, about a third, 2 1/4 inches in from that end, 2 3/4. We'll make that 2 1/4 in from that end, keep it symmetrical, and we'll bring it down to, because I like mixing up metric and imperial, we'll have 1 centimetre at that end, 2 1/4 to 1 centimetre. So, one wall, just cut that out and come back. Score and snap. That'll do, and that'll fit in there nicely. So we'll just add a bit of relief with some fine strip. Aha! Got a nice strip of brick here. Okay, it's 00, but I'm not using it as bricks exactly, so I'll just clean this up and stick it on. Can't stick. And there we have it. Bit of styrene sheet, couple of vertical strips and a bit of brickwork along the top just to make a bit of detail. So I'll go away and I'll just sand it smooth along the top edges and on the ends and give it a coat of primer. And while I'm priming that, I'll also prime the track here. So it's all good then for setting in. There we have the basics of what we're doing. So we've now got the grey wall. Just holds the ground back a bit there to allow space for that behind the signal box, with clearance for a vehicle to go through. Also painted the grey primer on the shed and on the track and the concrete base there as well. So now it's time to add a bit of colour to the wall and the concrete base. As with Heather Green, the basic colour I'm going to use is Humbrol Matte 113, I think it is. Oh no, 121. Matte 121. We're going to start with that, and this will give us sort of a sandy tint to the walkway. Ending to pop it open. There we go. That's going to need some stirring. Having stirred the paint a bit, I'm going to thin it because I don't want it too thick. So we'll just put some thinners in here. There's plenty. Never get too big a tin of thinners. Go through a lot of it, especially when you're spraying and painting O-gauge locos. But that's that. So we'll now get a dollop of that. We'll get some thick stuff. I think that'll do to start with. And we'll start with the concrete pad. And I'm just going to brush it over. I'll let that dry off and then do another coat. Initially, on the wall here as well, I'm just going to do vertical coats and flood it in. And just like that. And we'll just go circuit round and round until I get the tone I want. And now I'll just brush out, dry brushing in streaks. Towards the edge. Because I don't want it too even. I don't want an even colour. I want it a bit streaky. So the grey shows through in some patches more than others. And I reckon that's close enough to what I want on there to start with. It looks very bright, and it is quite bright at the minute, but we will be weathering it down again on here. A bit of dry brushing, but on this wall, vertical, all in vertical strokes downwards, and that also gives an artificial shadow along the top. And I'm going to get a bit of thinners and we'll blend that in with some thinners. Not too much on the brush, but enough just to dampen the brush down and just work it downwards. Bit of paint to it as well. Get a mixture. Just wash it again. Then we'll leave that to dry, and then we'll come and dry brush some other tones in there. Righto guys, bearing in mind that I am making this all up as I go along. Hot cup of tea number 3, this one. So far we're a 3 cup of tea job. So, what are we up to? I'm going to use a pair of gloves for the next set of things we're going to do, because I'm going to get dirty otherwise and transfer everything everywhere. So, whilst you've been away, or I've been away from the camera here, obviously I had blown over the track with the grey primer. I've just literally brushed the rails roughly, you know, nothing important, just with a rusty colour, the darkest brown that I've got. Same with the buffer stops and the other piece of there. I blew this over with a bit of primer and the signal box whilst I had the primer out. So they're out of the way, and obviously we've got the very roughly painted walling. So now what we're going to do is hopefully try and make it look a little bit more natural, shall we? And the concrete pad here I've added with some super glue. It's literally coffee stirrer to make the concrete in the track, but I'll bring you in closer so you can have a little gander down here. So now I'm going to use a combination of my powders to try and create a weathered look on these concrete areas. Like I say, making up as we go along. Let's have a closer look and see what we can achieve. So as you can see here, literally just glued a bit of coffee stir in the track, and they fit perfectly on TT track. It's excellent. So what are we going to use? I've got some metal slag, I've got some dark earth, farm dark earth, some rust, some black and some white. So I need to try and turn this sort of a concrete, weathered concrete coloured with a bit of streaking. So in this dish here I'm going to add, oh, what have we got? A bit of, I think, metal slag, because it's not quite black, so we'll add a bit of that. See if we can blend it together like you do paint. So I'll add a bit of that in there, which is too dark, so we're going to add a bit of white. Shouldn't take much white, I wouldn't have thought. And find an old brush, and if we blend it together, do we get a grey colour? Oh, that's not bad. Add a bit more white, I think. A bit more white. How does it brush on? Just roughly get it on there just to change the colour a bit. Just to age it and blend the colours in together. Let's move that up there, goes along here. See if we zoom you in so you can see the difference it's making. So I'm literally just stippling it on. And we'll just drag that down. Well, that's looking better already. So what can we add? What can we add to that? I reckon a little bit of black. And I'm going to want a smaller brush. Don't want too much black. Because this has been in place here for like 100 years. Just, you can see the difference in the colour from the top to the side now just by these two colours, and just work it into the corners. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. We'll just put a bit of colour along the top just to blend that in. That's good. And we'll again just dust around the edge of this. So there's that surface, and we'll blend in a bit of dirt into here as well. So that's the effect we have over here, and obviously if we then put the shed on sort of there, we've got an old sort of concrete colour where people have walked around. We'll just blend a bit more in here. Bit in there, bit in there, so it's all the doorway is filled. So what I'll now do with this and that is take it outside and give it a spray of matte varnish. So I've just glued some cork down for the track to sit on at the right level, and I varnished this and had a fortunate accident. It's unfortunate the Mod Podge varnish reacted with the paint underneath and crazed, but then it gives like a crazed concrete effect. Don't think you'll see it very well on here, but you might just get it in the reflection. So that has actually worked in a positive way. So I'm now going to get my hot glue gun and we'll glue it in place. And there we go, the wall is in place. So there we have the finished wall. What that means now, I get to glue the track down. And for this I'm just going to use PVA. And I'm also going to have a slurp of cup of tea number 4. It's been a long day. And we're going to bead the glue all the way along here to the end. Spread it out a bit with the old bit of cork. track down, feeding it in the end here. Just like that. And we'll do this side as well, so the little bit of track that's in here, which is this piece here. And the buffer stops, and the other bit of track up here goes to about there somewhere, I think. He was there, and this bit of track just him on there. Same here with a little bit of spodgy glue there. Just put this bit of weight on there, just to hold them down while the glue goes off. And we'll set the shed on its base. Job's done. We'll leave that for an hour or so and have my cup of tea and see what's going on the forums for a bit. So the last bit I'm going to do for this video is, I've still got grey sleepers from the primer. I'm just going to get some sleeper grime here, which I've just shaken up. Going to get a tissue, because I want to keep an element of the grey if I can, because it's old wood. It's not like a main line where constantly getting weathered sleepers sprayed with rusty water. So I'm going to get the soft brush, dip it in the sleeper grime, and we're going to just literally dry brush just to take off some of the grey. I don't want it totally sleeper grime coloured. And if I've got a heavy patch, I can just clean it off and do it again until I'm happy with it. If I put my glasses on, I can see what I'm doing better. I'm literally just gonna blend it in. And of course the end of the sleepers as well. But I want to keep the age look. Perfect. And I'll do the other end of the layout. And that is where we'll get to today. And that is the view that I was looking for. I think we'll call that a day for this one. The video is probably going to be quite long at this rate, but it's got the view and the sort of age to it that I wanted to achieve. I'm really happy with how that looks, and once the ground has been, and it's been ballasted there and built up, it'll look pretty spot on to how I pictured it in my head. So happy with that. Any questions and observations or suggestions, you know the score. Stick it in the write up below, and we'll have a conversation. So until next time, enjoy your modelling. See you soon. Bye for now.